An Indiana father is pushing for change tonight after two of his daughters died, swept away in floodwaters.
WRTV investigates obtained 911 recordings that call into question whether the county ignored repeated warnings.
The bridge here on Sains Creek is completely washed out. It's gone.
Now at 6, WRTV investigates Kara Kenny spending months looking into claims that one Indiana county could have prevented the deaths of multiple people killed in floodwaters.
This happened in Laurel, Indiana, in Franklin County. That is in the southeastern part of our state, not too far away from Cincinnati. Kara joins us now with her in-depth investigation, Crisis on the Creek.
Oh, ladies.
Josh Mosier is a cattle farmer. He's lived in Franklin County, Indiana, most of his life. It's hard living here. Just yards away is Sains Creek, where his two daughters, Kylie and Elysium, died last March.
They've touched everything. Their memories here.
But it's not just that they died, it's how they died that haunts Josh.
Definitely makes it hard to sleep. It's almost like I can hear him call. It's like I can't get to him.
It was before dawn on March 20th, 2020. Felina Lewis woke her kids, 4-year-old Kylie, 7-year-old Elysium, and her son Ethan. They got in the van and started heading for the babysitter. She needed to drop the kids off before her 6 a.m. shift at GCOM in Greensburg. It was just before 5 a.m. when Felina and the kids came down this hill, not realizing water had washed away part of the bridge. Their vehicle was swept away and carried down the creek. Josh was on his way to a job when a friend called and told him Felina's van had been found upside down in the creek.
My heart fell between my legs.
Josh went searching and found Kylie's body first.
I just held her and I told her it was okay, that Daddy had got her, that she didn't have to scream for me anymore, but Daddy wasn't done, that I had to find her sister.
Hours later, he found Elysium. The girl's mother, Felina Lewis, and her son, Ethan, also died that morning.
Sights, sounds, smells, that's the part I struggle with the most.
What Josh didn't know at the time is that several people called Franklin County 911 and the Sheriff's Department hours before Felina and the kids went into the creek. The first call came in at approximately 3:17 a.m. from a woman who lives near the bridge.
911, what's your emergency? Sains Creek Road is flooded. Okay, is there an emergency? Is there somebody stuck? No, we just see somebody coming down the hill. They turned around, but yeah, it's flooded bad.
Another caller contacted 911 an hour later at 4:18 a.m.
Yes, the bridge here on Sains Creek at the bottom of Sains Creek Hill is completely washed out. It's gone on one side. Somebody better get down here and block it off before somebody goes into the river.
And a third person called the Sheriff's Department at 4:46 a.m. after her son had trouble getting to work.
The water is so deep. He drives a red GMC truck.
Okay.
He said the water is so deep it was halfway up his headlights, and it is moving very fast, and it almost took him down the creek.
Felina and the kids went into the creek minutes after that call. Witnesses said they could hear screaming as their van was swept away. Despite at least 3 warning calls, court documents allege Franklin County did not dispatch a sheriff's deputy or county highway crew to block off the road.
This wasn't an accident. This was something that could have been prevented.
Carmel attorney Tim Devereaux represents Josh Mosier.
To have that specific information provided to you and then not act on it is just unfathomable.
Josh and his attorney filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Franklin County and the Sheriff's Department on January 11th of this year. It alleges the county was negligent when it failed to warn the traveling public about the bridge. It also alleges the county converted the 911 calls about the bridge to iCalls, or information only, meaning they did not have to send an officer to the scene. Josh's attorneys obtained the 911 calls through a records request and provided them to WRTV, as well as this call from a Franklin County chief deputy later on the evening of March 20th, asking if anyone had reported the bridge was out.
God help whoever didn't pass that on if it did. There was a call at 4:18. It says, advise that the bridge on Saints Creek is completely washed away.
What did they do with it?
It looks like it was made an I-call.
Are you kidding me?
The lawsuit alleges the dispatchers were posting to social media around the same time those calls about the bridge came in, an allegation the county denies. Josh's attorneys obtained the video from inside the 911 call center.
When we watched the video, we saw that these people were on their phones. They were on their cell phones during this time frame.
In its response to the court, Franklin County denies it was negligent and claims as a government agency they're immune from liability in this case. Josh and his attorney disagree.
There needs to be a process. There's a better way to handle a 911 call. That's what they're there for. It's an emergency phone call.
Josh remembers Kylie and Elysium loved playing in the creek. It was once the family's happy place. Now a memorial reminds drivers of the lives lost.
I just blow kisses and have a silent words with them as I go across.
Josh says he's filing suit and speaking with WRTV in the hopes of prompting better training and protocols for 911 operations.
So it doesn't happen again. So there's not another father, another family standing here talking to you.
And Kara, those 911 calls are just disturbing to hear, and that father's story is so sad.
It's so heartbreaking, and perhaps even more heartbreaking is that he wasn't the only one to lose family in the creek that day, Kara.
That's right, Mark. It is sad. A total of 6 people died when they were swept into the floodwater that day, including Burton Spurlock and Sean Roberts of Laurel, Indiana. Josh Mosier's lawsuit is still pending and is not yet scheduled for trial. Franklin County provided the following statement saying the county via its consultant conducted a special inspection of the Saints Creek Bridge after the tragic events of March 20th. The inspection found the bridge was structurally sound. The approach to the bridge was rebuilt and the bridge was safely reopened for travel. Severe weather is unavoidable and the power of rushing water is devastating. Franklin County Emergency Management and first responders work to make sure Franklin County is ready to respond to emergency situations, including weather-related disasters.
And Kara, what happened to the dispatchers named in that lawsuit?
Well, the county actually terminated one of the dispatchers after an internal investigation found he gave untruthful statements about a March 20th dispatch call, the same day Felina Lewis and the other 5 people died. Another employee listed in the lawsuit is still working there. She was a dispatcher trainee on March 20th, 2020.
New information tonight reveals help was likely just a few minutes away when 6 people got swept away on a flooded bridge and died.
This happened on the Saints Creek Bridge in Franklin County on March 20th, 2020. That's near the town of Laurel in the southeastern part of our state. Our Kara Kenny joins us now with an update to a WRTV investigation, Crisis on the Creek, that we first brought to you last month.
Following our investigation, Crisis on the Creek, we received numerous messages and tips, including one that said a highway department supervisor lived near the Saints Creek Bridge, but was not notified that morning about the flooding issues. Some say it's further proof the loss of 6 lives, including 3 children, could have been prevented. Just before 5 a.m. on March 20th, 2020, 4-year-old Kylie, 7-year-old Elysium, 13-year-old Ethan, and their mother Felina Lewis drowned when their van got swept away by floodwaters on Saints Creek Bridge. Burton Spurlock and Sean Roberts went off the same bridge and died that morning. After 6 people got swept away, Franklin County Highway employee Donnie Grizel also went into the creek just after 6 a.m. That's his black Jeep.
911, where's your emergency? I ran my Jeep into the creek on Saints Creek Road because the bridge is totally out. So I'm wondering if I need to stay with my Jeep or can I just go on to work, or preferably stay with your vehicle.
He survived, and at approximately 7:45 a.m., Grizel's supervisor, Kent Ruff, called the sheriff's department to tell them a deputy had still not responded.
This Kent, Franklin County Highway.
Hello.
One of my drivers is down in Salt Creek, or Saints Creek Bridge here. And the other dispatcher told him to wait till one of the deputies arrived. I need my man.
Is the officer there?
No, No, we've been here for 2 hours.
They weren't the only ones to call for help. As WRTV Investigates reported last month, 3 people called Franklin County 911 and the Sheriff's Department before 6 people were swept away by floodwaters and died.
911, where's your emergency? Spring Street Road is flooded. Okay, is there an emergency? Is there somebody stuck? No, we just see someone coming down the hill and they turned around, but yeah, it's flooded bad. The bridge here on Sains Creek, at the bottom of Sains Creek Hill, is completely washed out. It's gone on one side. Somebody better get down here and block it off before somebody goes into the river.
The water is so deep, he drives a red GMC truck.
Okay.
He said the water is so deep it was halfway up his headlights, and it is moving very fast, and it almost took him down the creek.
Despite warning calls, court documents allege Franklin County did not dispatch a sheriff's deputy or county highway crew to block off the road. WRTV Investigates has learned new information on just how close help may have been. Highway Department worker Donnie Grizel lives here on Sains Creek Road.
So we're at the county employee's house. We're now going to measure from his house down to the bridge.
We drove from his house to the bridge.
So 2.3 miles, 4 minutes.
Kent Ruff, a foreman and supervisor for the county highway department, also lives nearby. We measured from his house to the bridge. It's just over 3 miles.
So that took us about 5.5 minutes. What does that say to you?
It sounds to me like a complete miscommunication. The critical information about the bridge being out was in the possession of the 911 department, but it wasn't passed along to anyone.
Carmel attorney Tim Devereaux says dispatchers never contacted highway workers Kent Ruff and Donnie Grizel that morning. Devereaux represents Josh Mosier, the father of Kylie and Elysium, an ex-boyfriend of Felina Lewis.
It's extremely hard, but I'm not running. I'm trying to stand on my own 2 feet.
Josh filed a wrongful death lawsuit in January against the county, alleging the county was negligent when it failed to warn the traveling public and Franklin County Highway Department about the bridge. WRTV Investigates shared our findings with Devereaux about the county employees whose homes are in close proximity to the bridge.
What was your reaction?
The key is they had time to warn.
Devereaux says dispatchers could have alerted those county highway workers, including the supervisor, but they did not.
He could have been to the bridge in minutes to at least set up blinkers on his car, to block the road, to do something to warn the traveling public that the bridge was out. But as a supervisor for the county highway department, he could have easily called in additional resources to get out there to put signs up, cones, flares, anything to warn the public that this bridge was out.
WRTV Investigates contacted Ruff and Grizel, but they did not respond. We also reached out to the county highway department via email and stopped by their office, but no one would talk to us because of the pending litigation. Josh Mosier wishes dispatchers had notified those highway workers who live within minutes of the bridge. He wonders if his daughters and the 4 others would still be alive today if they had.
There has to be a better plan put in place. Take your job seriously, because it's a very serious job. If somebody calls you needing help, that's exactly what it is. It's a 911 emergency phone call. You might want to handle it with a little more responsibility.
The families of Felina Lewis and Ethan Williams have filed their own lawsuits against Franklin County, and those are still pending. We've reached out to their attorneys and have offered to tell their stories as well. Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
Kara, thanks. And on May 6th, we asked the county whether they've changed their training procedures or protocol following the tragedy, and we are still waiting to hear back.
But in its response to the court, Franklin County denies it was negligent and claims as a government agency they're immune from liability in this case. The county fired one of the dispatchers, but a dispatch trainee named in the lawsuit is still working there. The case is scheduled for a hearing on June 10th. To see our original investigation, Crisis on the Creek, go to this story on the WRTV app. It's also on WRTV.com.
It's almost like I can hear him call, and it's like I can't get to them.
The call had to be consciously changed, and it was changed. The county admits that, and because of that change, no actions were taken to prevent the tragedy that occurred.
Now at 6, an update from WRTV Investigates on the decisions and actions that led to tragedy in Franklin County. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Nicole Griffin. New information reveals 911 operators may have violated policy by not sending help to a flooded bridge in March of 2020.
Yes, 6 people died after the water swept them away, despite several 911 calls warning that the bridge was washed out.
This happened on the Sains Creek Bridge in Franklin County. That's near the town of Laurel in southeastern Indiana. WRTV Investigates Kara Kenny and photographer Brad Forstall bring us this update tonight to the crisis on the creek.
Father Josh Mosier filed a wrongful death lawsuit in January against Franklin County. Since we first told you about the crisis on the creek back in April, a lot has been happening behind the scenes, including depositions of the 911 operators who were working that morning, as well as the 911 supervisor. Josh's attorney says what they revealed is proof this whole tragedy could have been prevented. The holidays are a tough time for Franklin County father Josh Mosier. This will be the second Christmas without his daughters Kylie and Elysium and their half-brother Ethan.
Kylie was very emotional, clingy. She liked dressing up, playing in her tutus, and most of the time on my lap. Elysium, she was tough for such a little girl, no fear whatsoever.
The morning of March 20th, 2020, 3 people called Franklin County 911 and the Sheriff's Department to warn the Sains Creek Bridge was covered in water.
911, what's your emergency? Sains Creek Road is flooded. Okay, is there an emergency? Is there somebody stuck? No, we just see someone coming down the hill. They turned around, but yeah, it's flooded bad. Yes, the bridge here on Sains Creek, at the bottom of Sains Creek Hill, is completely washed out. It's gone on one side. Somebody better get down here and block it off before somebody goes into the river. Okay, we will let them know. Thank you.
The water is so deep, he drives a red GMC truck.
Okay.
He said the water is so deep it was halfway up his headlights, and it is moving very fast, and it almost took him down the creek.
Minutes after the last call, Josh's ex-girlfriend, Felina Lewis, was driving her kids to the babysitter when her van got swept away by floodwaters on Sains Creek Bridge. Kylie, Elysium, Ethan, and Felina drowned. Burton Spurlock and Sean Roberts went off the same bridge and also died that morning. Josh found his daughter's bodies, but it was too late.
Definitely makes it hard to sleep. It's almost like I can hear him call, and it's like I can't get to him.
Josh filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Franklin County back in January. New information reveals the crisis on the creek could have been prevented. Through a records request, WRTV Investigates obtained a copy of the Policy and Procedure Manual, which says when Franklin County Dispatch receives a call of any type of obstruction or failure to a Franklin County road, like trees down, flooded water, the appropriate county highway supervisor will be notified.
We're down the record.
We also obtained this video deposition, which is part of the wrongful death lawsuit. 911 supervisor John Hundley testified about the county's policy.
You get a call that a bridge has washed out.
Yes.
Are you calling county highway?
Yes.
Are you calling a sheriff's deputy?
Yes. If there's one available, yes.
And is that the policy of the department?
Yes.
Hundley testified a dispatch trainee and her supervisor both heard this 418 call about 40 minutes before Felina's van went into the creek.
Somebody better get down here and block it off before somebody goes into the river. Okay, we will let them know.
So at that point in time, at 418, you have 2 dispatchers that know the Sains Creek Bridge is washed out, don't you?
Yes.
But they did not let anyone know, court documents allege. Instead, Hundley testified someone working in the call center consciously converted the 418 call to an I call. That means information only. And according to the county's training manual, an I call does not have to be assigned or cleared by an officer.
Was that an aha moment?
It was for us.
Josh Mosier's attorney, Tim Devereaux.
What we didn't realize until we got into these depositions is that the call had to be consciously changed. And it was changed. The county admits that. And because of that change, no actions were taken to prevent the tragedy that occurred.
A Franklin County chief deputy learned about this decision when he called dispatch the evening of March 20th to ask if anyone had reported the bridge was out.
God help whoever didn't pass that on if it did.
There was a call at 4:18. It says advise that the bridge on Saints Creek is completely washed away.
What did they do with it?
It looks like it was made an I call.
Are you kidding me?
Devereaux believes 6 people would still be alive today had the 911 operators followed the county's policy. It's a hard pill to swallow.
I was trying to think, how am I going to tell Josh? I mean, it's difficult to have to tell him that your worst fears have been confirmed. This was preventable.
You really feel for him, don't you?
Yep.
You're a father as well?
Yep. Sorry? Yeah.
Josh Mosier and his attorneys allege Franklin County was negligent by failing to warn the traveling public about the bridge. They also filed an amended lawsuit on October 15th, naming Copperhead Excavating out of Laurel, Indiana, as a defendant. They claim the company contracted with Franklin County to perform shoring services around the Saints Creek Bridge. The lawsuit claims Copperhead was negligent by failing to properly place, anchor, or secure the stone blocks to prevent the approaches to the bridge from washing out during times of high water.
The blocks that were positioned there were not cemented together. We can't see that they were cabled together or that they were in any way secure. So that's one of the things we're doing in our lawsuit is we want to dig in to see how that work was done, how it should have been done, and the extent that this incident could have been avoided had this been done properly.
Copperhead's attorney declined to comment to WRTV, but in its response to the court, Copperhead denies it was negligent and blames an act of God. Copperhead Excavating also says the work completed in 2017 was performed in a workmanlike manner and points out they were not involved in the design or the construction of the bridge itself. In a court filing, Franklin County denies it was negligent and also denies Copperhead was negligent. Franklin County claims as a government agency, they're immune from liability in this case. They've asked the court for more time. Josh Mosier's attorneys are fighting any delays.
We have families that are seeking closure. You know, they would like to see this case resolved.
Oh, ladies.
Josh Mosier tries to stay busy with his work as a cattle farmer. He finds it difficult to accept that his daughters, as well as Felina and Ethan, are gone, knowing the policy required dispatchers to contact a county highway supervisor.
There's a better way to handle a 911 call. That's what they're there for. It's an emergency phone call. This wasn't an accident. This was something that could have been prevented.
The 911 operators are not named as defendants in the lawsuit. The county fired one of the dispatchers, but a dispatch trainee mentioned in the lawsuit is still working there. Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
Josh Mosier's wrongful death lawsuit is set for a court hearing on January 6th. We have reached out to Franklin County's attorney for a response to the latest allegations involving violation of policy, and we are still waiting to hear